Tehenowin has always been an intriguing prospect to me. I like him on paper, but in practice, he's just overpriced typically for what he gives you. But let's take a look here. It's current year, featured again for the second day in a row on the channel. Going to be leading his Lizardmen against the foul hordes of Norsca, Throg, the king of the trolls here, to oppose the prophet of Sotek. Let's take a look at Tehenowin's kit. Of course, he's on his horned one, giving him great armor-piercing damage. He's got poison attacks. Let's see, his ability set, Lore of Beasts, of course. Pan's Pelt's going to be fantastic. Flock of Doom is okay. Wissen's Wild Form is a great buff as well for lizards. In general, actually, I really like Beast buffs and debuffs for Lizardmen. Tend to be quite useful. Stand Your Ground as well makes him a decent enough cavalry support lord. Plaque of Sotek also means anytime he casts a spell, he gets a nice damage resistance on himself, which is always useful. Especially for kind of a combat hybrid caster character. Yeah, got a couple of horned ones here, and then some skink javs in the front line. Star Chamber Guardians, cohort of Sotek as well. The Colossedon Hunters up in the air, very cool choice. Some Pterodons, including the Pawhawk Sentinels, Regiment of Renown. A couple more cohorts scattered around. And for Norsca, Marauders up front. We've got some Javs in the second line. Looks like some Champs as well. Some Marauder Champions. Yes, sword, or rather axe and shield variant. Skinwolves in the back with some Norscan Ice Wolves, Throg, and a Lore of Shadows Bale Fiend, who can sunder armor in melee and also has Pit of Shades and Enfeebling Foe. So let's see how it unfolds. I quite like the Famir for armor sundering plus javelins. It means you don't have to bring throwing axes necessarily, but actually, in a lot of situations, like the throwing axes as well against the Lizardmen, for a number of reasons. Their combat prowess means they actually trade decently against a lot of Lizardmen infantry and melee, and the throwing axes also are really good against Lizardmen monsters, typically, but the javelins will do just fine against low armor targets like these Pawhawk Sentinels. Their physical resistance Missile resistance will help them shrug off a little bit of that damage, but definitely don't want to just sit there and take those high damage javelins to the face. Norsca just kind of sitting passively right now and relying on the skirmish of these javelins, not really wanting to overcommit to a melee engagement, but what that means is they're going to allow Lizardmen to dictate this engagement, get straight into these champions with the horned ones, which is just going to be a brutal engagement for the Norscans. Great value for these horned ones right off the bat. Another one is able to come in and just crush a unit of Marauders immediately. Colossedon Hunters then move in against the Ice Wolves, who then are countercharged by the Skin Wolves, and more Skin Wolves and Throg also countercharging in, so a huge kind of escalation by both sides in this pocket right here, while the regular infantry lines clash over here. Skin Wolves and Javelins absolutely devour that skin cohort. That is severe overkill, but there you go. In the meanwhile, in the front line, the horned ones and Tehenowin and the skin cohort are able to overwhelm a lot of the Norscan infantry, start to eat up some of those javelins as well. Let's get in close, though, as these doomed horned ones and the Colossedon Hunters make their stand against all of the tooth and claw and fangs, and I guess big ice hammer in the case of Throg. I guess it's a rock. I thought it was ice. I'm a little bit disappointed, I'm not going to lie. I don't know why I thought it was ice, but there you go. Regardless, it's going to be a bad engagement for the Lizardmen, even with the skink cohort supporting here. Colossedon Hunters, I mean, they're very squishy, although they probably did a lot of damage there. They definitely just get eaten up in a big hurry. Cohort of Sotek, though, don't care. They're going to continue to chat on through with their unbreakable leadership. Star Chamber Guardians also, if they're able to get free and actually fight some Skin Wolves, that magic damage helps cut through that physical resistance very efficiently, and they can definitely murder them in a big hurry. Tehenowin, though, moving in some nice block of dooms, also some great splash attacks. I mean, we'll check his kit after this, of how much he costs with that particular kit. It would be nice if it was relatively cheap. It would actually make him a really strong choice for Lizardmen in a number of situations, as kind of a support lord, as mentioned. As he is right now, like, maybe on the horned one he's viable, but especially on his more expensive mounts, he just gets out of control very quickly for somebody that has kind of limited ability set. I don't know. It's an odd one. I love his lore, though, and I think he's an awesome character, and hopefully he'll get some love in the future. Even just like a minus 150 to 200 cost go a long way in making Tehenowin more viable. But certainly he's doing a great job here, grinding through some Marauder champions, supporting those Star Chamber Guardians as the Pterodons fire from the sky. We see that Bit of shades out there in the distance, trying to go after the horned ones, I believe. I don't know how effective that actually was, but horned ones are also retreating, pulling back to the support of their halberds. This is actually really smart. Maybe get a rear charge on some of these champions, or go after the warhounds. Make sure they can't continue to chase routing units, and more importantly, get close to these Star Chamber Guardians so they can perhaps screen, or they'll just choose to charge straight into the halberds, which, I mean, you do have a pretty nice open side charge in here right now, which will go okay initially, but once the Star Chamber Guardians get up and start to punch back, it's going to go pretty badly for the Skin Wolves here. They also open themselves up to a nice counter collapse from the horned ones as they get a rear charge in here. Flesh Hounds also YOLOing in, so another big escalation for both sides as they move in resources. But unfortunately for the Lizardmen, the regeneration of a lot of these Norscan units is starting to tell. I mean, the Skin Wolves, although they've all taken serious damage, are all still operational. Throg has taken basically no damage, or at least if he's taken any, it's all regenerated back. So it's going to be tough here. Danger ground has been popped, though, on the Star Chamber Guardians, and Tehenowin's going to continue to throw out some magic here. Another nice block of doom. One Skin Wolf does get routed here. It looks like another Skin Wolf running low on leadership. The Horned ones also still have quite a bit of HP left. Could perhaps move out and start to chase some of these routing units, equalize this engagement, or no, just drop another big fat rear charge right here. Try and break this pocket, free up the Star Chamber Guardians so they can start dealing damage to Throg, fighting with Tehenowin here. They've probably been getting some buffs. I'd imagine Wissen's Wild Form, other such buffs, especially considering the Skin Wolves have non-armor piercing damage. Wissen's Wild Form would be a great buff for either the Horned ones or the Star Chamber Guardians, to be honest, to help support them in that engagement. But since most of the engagement is happening here, let's keep it close. We'll look in the background as, yeah, Cohort of Sotek is efficiently chasing some routing units there. Going to go after those Javelin Hunters probably, maybe not, we'll see. Pterodons can also be used to chase routing units at this point, although the Skink cohorts, they're getting caught up by the Skin Wolves, and again, Skin Wolves rally. They're able to regenerate quite a bit of HP, and that's just going to make this so much tougher for the Lizardmen to try and finish this off. So let's see here. Wissen's Wild Form there on the Horned ones momentarily. Nice little buff. Help them punch out a little bit harder. Star Chamber Guardians and the Horned ones now smart to just try and charge straight in, honestly. Not allow the Skin Wolves to get a nice counter charge, but now they pull back through their own halberds, and a big flock of doom as well, just deal a little bit of extra chip damage. Tehenowin charges in. He's got to be super careful not to get hit a lot by Throg, but because they kind of pulled the Skin Wolves through the Star Chamber Guardians, they're able to actually get a lot of unit models surrounded, like this guy right here, and start to drag them down. Let's get the health bars back up and see how the engagement is actually going. Yeah, stand your ground, Pan's Pelt as well on the Star Chamber Guardians. Give them 96 melee defense and physical resistance of 25%. They're going to be taking basically no damage during that time. And yeah, Horned ones also get Wissen's Wild Form. So like I said, I love the support buffs and debuffs also in the case of Freya von Athrema for Lizardmen. I think they definitely benefit them in various interesting ways, and cool to see Tehenowin make such great use of them here. It's going to be tough to finish off Throg, though. Throg still has a lot of HP, especially fighting with his Mir bro, Bale Fiend buddy. Yeah, it's going to leave the Star Chamber Guardians momentarily just to fight. They do get an enfeebling foe there, debuffing their stats. Still have some stats with which to contest, but at this point, yeah, maybe bring in the Cohort of Sotek to help support, provide a little bit of poison here, so that Tehenowin doesn't have to engage for his poison, and then get the Horned ones in there also just to provide some extra mass and armor-piercing damage, and they might be able to grind through and get Throg down. Another Wissen's Wild Form, up to 75 weapon damage, 51 armor-piercing on these Horned ones, and in a surround with that 49 charge active, they do get some nice damage on Throg, big damage on the Famir too. Balefiend Bros about to rout. And I think that's pretty much it for Norsca. Hard to say, but things are looking pretty dicey. Balance of power is still basically even, which I don't understand. I guess just because Throg is so healthy. But yeah, Warhounds absolutely died. Tehenowin smartly just staying away for the time being from Throg, trying to mostly not get caught by him, while the Balefiend just straight up dies there while I'm not paying attention. And yeah, with the Balefiend gone, with Throg soloed out against all of this elite Lizardmen stuff, it's not going to be a good time for him. Nice Pants Pelt there, up buffing the speed up to 58 for those Cohort of Sotek, 44 even after Frostbite. Yeah, Throg not long for this world, taking hits from the Star Chamber Guardians. Horned ones push out. They're going to try and finish off these Skin Wolves. Clawhawk Sentinels finishing off the Marauder Jabs, and that should be army losses. What a great game from its current year. Really awesome one, and very glad he sent me that. Huge win for Tehenowin, right? He puts the win in Tehenowin, honestly. And although Tehenowin didn't get that much damage value in and of himself, he got a respectable amount, certainly. 15,000 damage dealt, 1690 on the value. Definitely not bad. The support value is hard to quantify, but, like, check out these Horned ones, man. 27-23 on the one that lasted into the late game, and then the the Star Chamber Guardians, 32-83. That's where you see the support value really start to shine through for the lures of beasts on these elite Lizardman units, especially. Of course, also on the flip side, sometimes it can go back to haunt you. Colossodon Hunters and this other Horned one definitely got absolutely creamed, but that's okay. Cohort of Sotek managed to pay for themselves. The other skin cohorts generally do a decent job, fairly cost-effective all around. On the Norscan side, Throg and the Balefiend would have liked to have seen a little bit more value from them. Weren't quite able to pull it out at the end there. Same thing, like the champs just falling short. I mean, generally they're a tank infantry. You wouldn't necessarily expect them to pay for themselves, so this is actually pretty solid. But regardless, Skin Wolves do a decent job. They do okay. Javelins also slightly underperforming. Kind of the story of a lot of these Norscan units. They're just a little bit shy of where they need to be in terms of damage value. And really like this Lizardman build. Might just straight up steal this, try it out in some different situations. Seems fairly micro-intensive and punishing two mistakes, but at the same time, I love the support build for Tehenowin. And let's just quickly kind of check his costs. Yeah, so if we come in here and go to Lizardmen and come to Tehenowin, right here at the end, so base cost is relatively high. It's 1,000, which is kind of crazy to me. I mean, I know his stats are very good, but if we go ahead and have a look at one of the most OP caster fighter hybrids in the game, the generic Gun Lord, oh, they actually increased the cost up to 900. I didn't even realize. Nope, that's not right. I was going to say that's not right. Oh, yep, 500. Okay, so Gun Lord at 500, literally half the cost of Tehenowin, has more or less same stats, slightly lower overall, and of course, you don't have majority armor piercing, which is a pretty significant difference. 120 base to 280 armor piercing versus the shooting guns, 280 versus 120 base, right? Or it's 120 AP, rather. So, I mean, but they are basically the same, right? More or less. Certainly, Tehenowin is not a double the value that you would see here on the shooting gun lord, so and granted, the stats do go up a little bit from that frenzy. Also come built in with the focus instincts, which is not actually very useful for the Lizardmen anymore since they removed the rampage from a lot of units. Anyway, Tehenowin probably should come down in price to like 800 base cost, like not 850, yeah, somewhere in that range. And then the shooting gun lord needs to go up to like 700, 750 probably. And then they would both make sense, but as it is right now, they both seem kind of wildly out of cost. I know it's a weird comparison, but just live with it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.